This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from September 26th to September 28th of 2025. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. And listen, this is a very busy week for the US Men's National Team soccer community. We have the U20 World Cup, which we play on Monday, New Caledonia, France on Thursday, and we play South Africa next Sunday. We're going to be doing live watch-alongs for all of those U20 World Cup games that the United States plays. On top of that, we also have the October roster release this week. So we're going to be doing a stream for that as well. It's expected to be out on Tuesday, but there's no confirmation at the time of this recording. And as always, I got called a hater and I guess a delusional US soccer fan on X this weekend. If I compliment a player, I'm delusional, right? Because some fan bases don't like that. If I criticize a player, I'm a hater. It even reached the point where someone's told me, it's like, you would never say this to the player's face. And understand, I probably wouldn't, because if I was a doctor, for example, and my patient was super sick, I wouldn't tell him. Why would I tell him? That's mean. Let's say he's sick because of a bad diet. Why would I criticize my patient to him? Why would I say that to him? It's just mean. It's just wrong. So I would just let him go home and have a happy life. Same thing with the players. Why would I say it to their face? That's just mean. Even though I had Alexi Lalas here on the channel and I kind of said what I had to say. But enough of me yapping. Make sure to drop a like in this video. Help us hit 1,000 likes as we always do. Subscribe if you're not, even though you probably are at this point. Let's roll the intro and let's start the weekend recap. Okay, we're going to start with the Americans that play in Italy, a beautiful country, by the way. I've never been there, but I've seen the pictures. It's a beautiful country. They also created pizza, spaghetti with meatballs, lasagna. It's definitely my favorite country in Europe, and I'm pretty sure it's yours as well. Okay, so let's start with Christian Pulisic from Milan. And on Sunday, Pulisic started and played 59 minutes for Milan during their 2-1 win over Napoli. The great city of Napoli, a city literally named after a pizza. One of my favorite pizzas, by the way. If you haven't noticed, I love pizza. But we're not here to talk about pizza. How did Pulisic do? And he was simply the man at the match. By far the best player and decisive. He was only subbed out early because Pervis de Stupinan got a red. So Allegri, the soccer terrorist, had to sacrifice Pulisic for a defender. But it kind of makes sense that Allegri practiced soccer terrorism this game because Milan had a 2-0 lead and they had a penalty kick against them and they were going to play man down. So for this specific game, I forgive Allegri. He had to go towards the soccer terrorist route to get the win. And get the win, he did. Pulisic got a goal and an assist, essentially getting Milan the win and sending them to the top of the table of the Serie A. The assist was an incredible play from Pulisic from start to finish. He helped Milan recover the ball on defense, and then he made a Bale-like run down the left, where he ended up setting up his teammates essentially for a tap-in. The goal was 90% Christian Pulisic. Now, the goal that he scored, right, that was the assist, but the goal that he scored, it was a strong finish in the box. I believe there was a slight deflection, but it doesn't matter. He took care of business and he scored. Along with that, he was great throughout the game, consistently getting fouled, rarely making any mistakes, helping on defense, running a lot, and he almost got another assist, but Fofana missed the target on a somewhat easy chance. Over the past 2 Serie A games, Milan has scored 5 goals. All of those goals were either a Pulisic goal or assist. He is currently in world-class form. And please understand, I'm still not ready to call Pulisic world-class, but the form that he's at right now, it is world-class. Let me explain. The only question that remains is whether or not he can keep it up all season long or, at least close to this form rather than his hot and cold streaks like he had the past 2 seasons, right? Where he would have a very good month and then not a good month after, and then a good month, and then a bad month, and then a good month, and then a bad month. His current form right now, if he can hold that for an extended period of time, like the whole season essentially, it can drop a little because he's just scoring for fun. But if he can keep this good form for pretty much the entire season, then I guess I'm kind of ready to call him world class. I know he can play at a world class level. I just haven't seen it consistently, like for a whole season or 2 seasons, right? He's been good for 2 seasons, but he has been streaky throughout the past 2 years. But so far this year, he's been incredible every single game. No exceptions. And look at this. Milan is on the top of the table. Pulisic's in great form. Allegri's an experienced coach. They have no European soccer this year. No Europa League, no Champions League. Maybe, just maybe, Milan could win the Scudetto. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think Milan can win the Serie A this season? I think it's not likely, but possible. Next up, we have Weston McKennie and Yunus Musa because Atalanta and Juventus played over the weekend. Now, before I talk about them, real quick, Ben Kremaski was not available for Parma because he's with the U20 roster that's going to play in the U20 World Cup that we will cover this week. Okay, so no Ben Kremaski this weekend. Let's talk about Musa and McKennie. And on Saturday, McKennie started off the bench and was subbed in the 57th minute for Juventus during their 1-1 draw with Atalanta. As for Yunus Musa, he started off the bench for Atalanta and was subbed in the 75th minute. So, how did they do? Weston McKennie was fine, nothing great, nothing bad. He came in when Juventus was down 1-0 and he helped them pull this draw. He also was able to draw a red card. He got fouled and the Atalanta player got the second yellow, so he got a red for that. Now, McKennie should have had the game winner. He had an opportunity to score off a corner late in the game. It was close to a tap-in from close range, but he hit it right at the goalkeeper. It was a very rare miss from Weston. He usually scores those, but he didn't in this specific occasion. As for Yunus Musa, he was just kind of there. Like, he did a lot of defending, right, for Atalanta, and he barely touched the ball. He had like 8 touches. So the way to put both of their performances is like, not bad, not great. I'd say average. Maybe McKennie slightly above average and Musa just average. He didn't have time to do much also. Okay, now time to leave Italy and go to a country that is not very known for having good food. And that's England. We're going to talk about the Americans in the English Premier League. The first one being Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. And on Saturday, Richards started and played the full 90 minutes for Crystal Palace during their 2-1 win over Liverpool. This was actually the first time that Liverpool dropped points in the Premier League this season. They actually won every single game this season, even in the Champions League, except for when they faced Crystal Palace. They lost the Community Shield on penalty shootouts, and then they lost to Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Yeah, Crystal Palace is legit this season. They're a very good team. But how did Chris Richards do? He had a fantastic game. He was really good the entire match. Crucial tackles, well positioned, just great. However, he did make a poor clearance with his head that led to Chiesa scoring the only goal that Liverpool scored this game. You got to head those away from the box, not to the middle of it. However, I'm going to defend Chris Richards here because he timed it well. But the problem was Mo Salah deflected the ball with his hand, which messed with Chris Richards and his timing of the ball. Now, if you're going to be one of those conspiracy theorists that thinks the ball didn't really hit Mo Salah's hand, well, all I have to tell you is that the ball don't lie. And Crystal Palace ultimately got the win. And trust me, beating Liverpool late in the game this season is not easy. Actually, usually the opposite happens, and Crystal Palace scored in added time to get the win. Next up, we have Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And on Sunday, A-Rob started off the bench and was subbed in the 80th minute for Fulham during their 3-1 loss to Aston Villa. Now, he did fine. They're slowly bringing him back. He started for them during the midweek when they played a cup game. Now, I'm going to expect him to become a consistent starter for them once again after the international break because he's still coming back from that knee surgery. Last but not least in England, we have Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson, 2 Americans that love to play cocaine ball or soccer on crack, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're hectic. They're chaotic players. They're all over the place. And on Saturday, Tyler Adams was back at Ellen Road to face Leeds. Tyler started and played 81 minutes for Bournemouth during their 2-2 draw with Leeds. As for Brendan Aronson, he started and played 87 minutes for Leeds in this game. And it was a very physical and intense game. I thought Tyler did what he normally does. Not much in possession, playing it safe. Then he worked very hard on defense, some hard tackles. He even hit Brendan Aronson pretty hard in the game once. It wasn't a bad game from Tyler, but also not his best of the season with Bournemouth. What we did notice is that Leeds fans really hate Tyler Adams. As for Brendan Aronson, I actually thought he had his best game of the season with Leeds. That's not to say that he was good. I mean, he was still very ineffective in the final third, and he was falling all over the place. But actually, he wasn't poor this time, in my opinion. I guess we can call it progress. He wasn't great, but he just wasn't terrible, just ineffective. I don't have much more to add there besides to ask you once again to drop a like in this video if you haven't already. Okay, time to go to Germany and talk about the Americans in the Bundesliga. The first two being Malik Tillman and James Sands, because Bayer Leverkusen and St. Pauli clashed over the weekend. And on Saturday, Tillman started and played 75 minutes for Leverkusen during their 2-1 win over St. Pauli. As for James Sands, he started for St. Pauli and he played the full 90 minutes during this loss. Now, I didn't really watch this game. There were too many games going on. So it was kind of hard to keep track of it because I have 10 fingers, 4 lungs, but I only have 2 eyes. And there were like 4 to 5 games going on at the same time with Americans playing. So I didn't really watch this one, and that's all I have to say. Cole Campbell would have been the next American that plays for Borussia Dortmund, but he's also with the US men's national team U20s in the U20 World Cup that we will be covering this week. So now let's talk about Joe Scally and Gio Reyna from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And on Saturday, Joe Scally started and played the full 90 minutes for Gladbach in their bizarre game that ended 6-4 to Eintracht Frankfurt. Early in the second half, Eintracht had a 6-0 lead, like very early in the second half. Gladbach was a disaster, and honestly, they are a candidate to get relegated, as they sit in last place right now at the time of this recording, with 2 draws and 3 losses in the first 5 games. Now, the good news here is that Scally actually got 2 assists while playing as a wingback. He helped them cut the losses from the 6-0 loss to a 6-4 loss. Not that it matters much, but I mean, those were 2 nice assists. At least one of them was very nice because he had to create his own space on the very first one. And then, when he was on the right flank, he cut back and he hit a left-footed cross, which is his weak foot, to get the assist. The other one was a cross as well. Now, the bad news, if you haven't noticed, I didn't talk about Gio Reyna at all. Did you notice that? That's because he has some muscle injury, and at the time of this recording, we don't really know when he will return. It sounds like it's something minor, but you never know with Gio Reyna. We have heard this before, and the dude was like out for months. He ain't known for healing quickly. I'm wishing Gio the best. I hope he recovers quickly, but it feels like every week or every time we get a little bit of hope with Gio Reyna, it quickly goes away. I'm starting to lose hope. I don't want to. I want to wait till the end of the season, but he's just very frustrating to follow. And obviously, the roster that'll be out this week for the October camp, do not expect him to be there. Next up, we have Noah Kai Banks from Augsburg. And on Saturday, Noah Kai Banks started off the bench and was subbed in the 58th minute for Augsburg during their 2-1 loss against Heidenheim. And he didn't look out of his depth, which, you know, for an 18-year-old center back in the Bundesliga, it's good. They also conceded no goals while he was on the field. Actually, there was one, but the goal was disallowed. And it was a little bit on him when it was disallowed, so it ain't really worth talking about. And Augsburg kind of sucks right now. And they have one of the worst defenses in the Bundesliga. So maybe, just maybe, we will see Noah Kai Banks start to get more minutes. That's it for Germany. Now, in Spain, we would have talked about Johnny Cardoso from Atletico Madrid, but he's dealing with a really bad ankle injury, and he's not expected to be back till after the international break, so probably another 2 to 3 weeks. So with that said, let's go to France and talk about the Americans that play in Ligue 1. The first one being Florentin Balogun from Monaco. And on Saturday, Balogun started off the bench and was subbed in at halftime during Monaco's 3-1 loss to Lorient in Ligue 1. So there's good news here, and there's bad news here. Let me explain. The bad news is that Monaco dropped points. That's never good. And it looks like Balogun actually got benched since he was on the bench this weekend and the previous weekend, and they didn't really have any games during the midweek. I know they have the Champions League coming up, so maybe they were resting him. Doesn't make too much sense. We'll see if Balogun starts or not when they play in the Champions League during the midweek. Also, keep in mind, one of the good news here is that Balogun actually wasn't bad. He just got no service this game. He only had 18 touches the entire second half. When he was subbed in, Monaco was playing down a man. They were playing with 10 players. However, Balogun also almost scored in transition. It was a great play where he outpaced the defender. He cut back to his left foot, but unfortunately he missed the target. He also did draw the penalty kick that was the only goal that Monaco scored. He kicked the ball and it hit the opponent's hand. That was converted by Ansu Fati, and that was the only goal that Monaco scored. What am I trying to say? Even though they were playing down a man and he got no service, Balogun was still extremely dangerous. He almost scored a goal and he was able to draw a penalty kick while barely being involved. Next up, we have Tim Weah from Olympique Marseille. And on Friday, Weah started on the left wing and played just 58 minutes for Marseille during their 2-1 win over Strasbourg. He had a good game earlier this week, or the past week, against PSG, and even scored in the previous one against Real Madrid, not so long ago. But this game against Strasbourg, he was very meh. I don't want to say he was bad, he just didn't really do much. There's not much to say. It wasn't horrible. Let's just say Weah had a quiet game. Next up, we have Marc McKenzie from Toulouse. And on Saturday, McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 2-2 draw with Nantes. Last but not least, in France, we have a dude that's been on fire lately. Before this weekend, he scored 2 game winners in a row for Lyon, and his name is Tanner Tessman. And this weekend, he started for them and played the full 90 minutes during their 1-0 win over Lille. And in regards to his performance, he wasn't maybe as good as previous games because he didn't score, but the overall game was fine. He had some good defensive moments while defending Olivier Giroud. He also was steady on the ball. The only time I see Tanner Tessman struggling is when he is in tight spaces. Outside of that, the passing range is great, positioning, interceptions, long shot. He's just been an incredible player in a double pivot midfield. I hope he makes the US men's national team roster for October. I kind of want to see Tanner Tessman playing next to Tyler Adams. I think they kind of complement each other, and this could be good for the US national team. You let me know what you think in the comment section down below, but I'm telling you, I've watched plenty of Tanner Tessman this season so far. He looks like a different player. He looks much better than before, and he's been extremely consistent. So that's it for the Americans in France. Now let's talk about the Americans in the Eredivisie, more specifically, the ones that play for PSV. Serginho Dest and Ricardo Pepi. And on Saturday, everyone was injured. No one wanted to play. Serginho Dest was out due to overload, so he was rested, but we're not sure, right? The report wasn't clear. He could be back in the midweek for the Champions League, but maybe Dest is having issues with his knee muscle. We don't know. So I also don't know if he's going to be in the USA roster. And Ricardo Pepi, he started for PSV, but he left the game in the first half with an apparent hamstring injury. We also don't know at the time of this recording for how long Pepi will be out for, but don't expect him to make the US roster as well. And Pepi probably came back earlier than expected from his knee injury because of all the injuries that PSV had. And for that reason, that's probably why he had this muscle injury, right? PSV wanted to take it slow, but they had an injury crisis up top and they had to bring back Pepi earlier than they probably wanted to. And unfortunately, that's the price we all have to pay. So Dest and Pepi for the USMNT roster that'll be out this week. I would say Dest is questionable. Pepi's out. Now we're going to go back to England and talk about the Americans that play in the second division of England, the EFL Championship. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich. And on Saturday, Sargent started and played the full 90 minutes for Norwich during their 1-1 draw with Stoke City. He had 28 touches, 3 shots, 2 of them being on target. He had a 0.75 XG on target. Sargent probably should have come out of this game with a goal, but he didn't. And that's now 3 games in a row with no goal contributions in the championship. Next up, we have Haji Wright from Coventry. And on Saturday, Haji started and played 72 minutes as a center forward for Coventry during their 3-0 win over Birmingham City. Next up, we have Damian Downs from Southampton and Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough because they clashed over the weekend. Kinda. Only one of them played. And on Saturday, Aidan Morris started and played 72 minutes for Middlesbrough during their 1-1 draw with Southampton. Now, Damian Downs didn't even make the bench for Southampton, and I don't know why. I couldn't figure out why. This comes days after he actually deleted his social media due to Southampton fans criticizing him heavily. Well, I was told by the US soccer media that we were toxic, that we take it too far. As far as I know, US men's national team fans have never led or never had their criticism lead to a player deleting their social media. I mean, we've had multiple soft media members blocking all of us on X and writing articles about how we're toxic, but no player has ever deleted their social media because of US men's national team fans. Damian Downs just did because of Southampton fans. Now, one American that is back from injury that plays in the championship, his name is Caleb Wiley, a left back from Watford. He was back, he came off the bench, he played 30 minutes. He's been injured for quite some time, so it's just good to have him back, and we're going to keep track of him every weekend. But last but not least in England, we have Ajiman from Derby County. And on Saturday, Agyemang started and played 74 minutes for Derby during their 1-1 draw with Wrexham. And he got an assist. And originally, I was going to call it an assist. But I rewatched it a few times, and it was an assist. It was a ball that was lobbed there near the midfield, and he got a little nice head flick onto it, and the ball reached his teammate. Now, the reason I was going to call it an assist is because his teammate did most of the work. After he got the ball from Agyemang, he nutmegged the opponent. He ran 20 or 30 yards and hit a beautiful shot from outside the box. But I don't think it's fair to call it an assist. It was an assist. It wasn't a great assist like Pulisic's, for example, but it was a real assist. So props to Agyemang. Now, is he playing well or not? I still haven't really watched him play, so I can't tell you if he's playing well or poorly. I just can't say it. If you have, let me know in the comment section down below. I doubt it, but I haven't watched it, so no further comments. I was also going to give a shout, well, not also, I will give a shout out to Alejandro Zendejas for scoring a golazo for Club America. He's technically an American abroad, right? He's playing in Mexico, but we usually don't cover the Liga MX players. But he scored a beautiful chip goal, so I got to give him props for that. He's actually been incredible for Club America and Liga MX, so shout out to Alejandro Zendejas, that is expected to be in the US men's national team roster for the October camp. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. You guys will see me a lot this week in the live streams. We have the New Caledonia stream with the United States this Monday night, France on Thursday, roster release stream, South Africa on Sunday. There's a lot going on, okay? Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and have a great day.